Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are going to come back here with a Lucian supplementary guide. This one we're going to be covering Manamune Lucian. So now, pros and cons of Manamune Lucian. Well, firstly, as you guys can see here, it's harder to hit 100% crit with Manamune Lucian. You may not hit 100% crit. If you do, it's only going to be on your last item because Manamune is going to be your first item. Another con is that Manamune as the first item takes time to scale and evolve into Mirror Mana, and you don't get a very strong spike like Essence Reaver. However, the pro, Manamune is a lot stronger than Essence Reaver in terms of damage in the later stages of the game. So when you evolve it into the Mirror Mana, of course it scales off of your mana, and of course it converts that into damage in terms of both your auto attacks and your abilities. So Manamune overall is going to do way more damage than Essence Reaver in the later game. But Essence Reaver, number one, does more damage in the early game, and number two, lets you hit 100% crit better. Now, which build is better? Well, it's basically a little bit of personal preference and a little bit of what you prefer, like, basically. So some people prefer a more scaling build, some people prefer a more early game build. Personally, on Lucian, I prefer the early game build because I feel Lucian is someone who's very strong in the early to mid game. But with this build, you're a little bit weaker, or quite a lot weaker in the early game, but you have a lot stronger mid game and late game. So it's sort of like a trade-off and depends on what you like. So of course, as I mentioned, we of course go for Manamune first item, and then we go into Charge Blade second item, attack speed, crit, ability haste, and of course the on-hit magic damage passive. Defensive boots into Stasis or Quicksilver, and most of the time with this build, normally you generally go Shield Bow for that extra shielding and also the lifesteal, and of course you get all the rest of the good stats as well. IE for the increase in damage, and then Seralda's for the armor penetration, as well as the IC passive, which allows you to slow them on your, of course, abilities, especially your ultimate. Now you could of course go for IE earlier, and you could go for Shield Bow later, or you could even swap out Shield Bow to like a Bloodthirster or something like that. That's kind of situational slash preference. And for the runes, it's the same as last time. You go for Kraken Slayer, of course, for the damage, which Lucian procs easily with his passive. You go for Hunter Vampirism for the extra healing, Bone Plating of course for the anti-burst, or Perseverance for the CC team comps and the defenses, and Transcendence to get more ability haste, and spells is Exhaust and Flash. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into the gameplay. Okay, so now we're gonna take a look at the gameplay itself. Alright, so as I mentioned, this build is a lot more scaling, so don't expect too much in the early game. Of course, Lucian does have his innate base damage, which is pretty high in the earlier stages of the game, so you wouldn't be completely useless. But compared to building other crit builds, like building the Essence Reaver as your first item, or even a Shield Bow as your first item, for example, compared to other crit builds, you can definitely feel the lack of power in this build because Manamune of course takes time to scale. So anyways, of course, getting to lane, we're against a Zeri and a Seraphine, and we have a Leona. So a Zeri and Seraphine have relatively good poke, and we do expect to get poked quite a bit. So our goal here is to try not to get poked too much so that Leona has an opportunity to actually go in. Because if we both get poked out, we will never be able to actually go in and fight the enemy team, and we basically are not going to be able to get anything done in the early game. So here for now, it's a really tame lane. Zeri and Seraphine wouldn't really want to fight us. They wouldn't really want to get in all in. They'll just want to poke like what you see here. In the meanwhile, we don't really want to fight them either. We just want to, farm up and not take poke, avoid getting poked out. And of course, when an opportunity arises, we want to stay as healthy as possible and then go all in. Here, for example, Leona goes in on Zeri. I dash forward, get the double auto, Q double auto, and Zeri is now below half health, and we blow Zeri's flash as well as her exhaust. So that is pretty crucial, and this is basically how you want to play the lane when you play Lucian with an engaged support. Of course, yesterday we saw Lucian Nami. Today we're seeing so we saw Lucian Nami, and now we're gonna see Lucian Leona. So one is with Nami and Enchanter, and the other one is of course playing with an engager. So of course your behavior kind of changes depending on who you're playing with and who you're playing against. Kind of logical, of course. And yeah. So here another thing we gotta look out for is in this match, of course, we have like an Amumu, we have a Seraphine, even a Set. There's a lot of CC on this team, so we don't really want to get too close to the enemy team. But Lucian does have a really short range, so you do have to, you know, be somewhat close, but you don't want to be like beside those melee champions and things like that. So we gotta be very wary of that in this particular game. So here we're doing a really good job in lane. Actually, we're barely taking poke from Zeri and Seraphine. Of course, they're trying to chuck their poke at us as much as possible, but you can see here that they're mostly missing and mostly not really hitting. Even when they do, it doesn't do too much damage. Here Amumu comes in. I actually dash out because I expected him to try to stun me. He actually doesn't. Tries to go for Leona instead, but Leona is able to dodge and walk out, of course, because the bush is control warded, so no one can actually see in the bush. Now here, it's a pretty funny situation. Zeri cancels her back for some reason, and because like she cancels her back, we just go all in on her, and it's basically a free kill. Zeri, kind of dumb decision there, to be very honest. She doesn't have her summoner spells, she doesn't have her teammates, they all backed, and she decides to stick around for the next minion wave. You can't be doing that, and if you really want to stick around for the next minion wave without your team, you have to stay on the tower, wait for the wave to push in, and then you can contest it. What gives you the right to walk up there and try to contest the wave against a Lucian Leona? So she basically just donates a free kill to us. I mean, I'm not complaining, but in a normal match, you wouldn't really see this. So Zeri kind of like a big egregious mistake there. Gives me the early kill. Unfortunately, I still don't have quite enough to complete my Manamune. After this minion wave, I would, but of course we just backed, and we don't want to like keep going back, you know, and losing out on tempo in the lane. So yeah, so here we're going back to farm. You can see that I'm constantly pulling the wave towards my side of the tower, and just trying to control the wave and make sure that Zeri and Seraphine, have as difficult a time to farm as possible. Now Zeri is actually gone missing, not really sure what happened to her, but Seraphine is still in the lane, of course. So here, you can see Seraphine doesn't have her support item out, and this basically tells you that Zeri isn't around. So the moment I see this, me and Leona are pushing in as quickly as possible because we want Zeri to lose out on some minions, and here we can now focus onto the tower and see if we can pick up like 1 or 2 tower plates. Zeri is finally back, we pick up a tower plate, we get hit by the charm, and here we're just trying to run, we dash and flash out of the way, and Leona is pretty tanky, so she looks like she's fine. I'm laying down a little bit of covering fire to ensure that the enemy team doesn't just walk straight at us with no consequence. You can see here that my team is actually rotating, and here that's why I'm still hanging around. We pick up some fruit, and Twisted Fate and Volley Bear comes in for the counter gank. Now in the end, no one actually ends up dying, but it ends up just being a very long chain of events here. Dragon is actually spawning, so here I kind of did want to back and get items and stuff, but Dragon spawning, and here you can see that my team is actually finishing off the kill. So here what I'm doing is I'm actually just pushing in the minion wave to deny the minions, of course, and then I'm going to go back to the Dragon and see what I can do. Now the fight still continues on with Amumu now joining the party. Amumu is now dead, so we don't have to care too much about that. Here we are going to, of course, go ahead and focus the Dragon. Now with Amumu dead for the next like 10 plus seconds, this should be a relatively free Dragon. The only thing that could go wrong is Leona's really low and I'm like half health. If Katarina just randomly comes in here, gets a couple of resets, and you know, kills us all. So because I pushed in a minion wave, you can see Twisted Fate is actually able to push the tower, and he's actually able to get almost all of the plates on the tower. So he's getting himself very ahead as a Twisted Fate. And here now I'm going to go back to the lane. He's going to now back, and now here I can hit back out into the lane with my Manamune now completed, of course. So gonna start stacking up the Manamune. Of course, gonna take some time to stack up Manamune. It's pretty slow. Pretty much only Ezreal really stacks the Manamune up really quickly. Rest of the champions don't really charge up Manamune that quickly. You can see that Amumu is now doing the Rift Herald, and he's actually gone the Rift Herald. So here in the meanwhile, what happened here, why I'm standing still, is because I was having internet issues, and here I was like just trying to reconnect to the game there, which is why I was kind of just AFK there for a couple of seconds. But anyways, we managed to push in the minion wave, and Zeri's on the opposite side of the map. So me and Leona can force down this tower and secure our team first tower of the game before the Rift Herald can be used. Now here, honestly, I felt Leona could have tanked like maybe two tower shots or 3 and let just allow us to finish the tower. Now I get chunked out by Seraphine, so that's like really risky. But we of course have to go for that tower. We do end up getting it, and we are now going to go ahead and back. Alright, so here walking back to lane, it's been a pretty slow game so far, and this makes a lot of sense because as I said, we're going for a Manamune build. We're not really doing the most damage in the world unless we get really lucky and excuse me, and we run into multiple fights where we can get kills. If not, it's going to be always the case that it's going to be a really slow game when you're going for a Lucian Manamune kind of build. Speaking of which, here you can see a fight kind of transitioning down. We're going to rotate over and see try our best to help our team. Here, Leona is able to CC Katarina. I'm able to actually take out Katarina. I'm going onto the chase for the Zeri, but unfortunately I end up dying to the Seraphine. Twisted Fate is able to finish off the job onto Zeri, and overall we ended up trading. I'm not really sure what we ended up trading. I think 2 for 2. Yeah, I think we traded 2 for 2, so it's kind of like an okay situation. We did manage to complete our Solari Charge Blade off of that though. So another thing about this build is, with the Manamune currently, without the Mirror Mana, we don't have a lot of AD. It's only giving me 25 AD. Charge Blade doesn't give me any AD, so compared to Essence Reaver that gives you 40 AD, that is another kind of big difference when it comes to your item choice. So that, that does sort of kind of make a difference. Alright, so here, now that we respawn, we're actually going to go ahead and clear up the Krugs while the minion wave is busy pushing in. I'm not sure why my camera is still on Jace. I kind of forgot that I respawned here, I guess. But we're going to pan back to me momentarily. There we go. So we're going to pan back. And here you can see that the enemy team is going for a Herald play in the mid lane. Now here, me and Leona have a nice flanking position, assuming that we can actually go for a fight. Leona here just goes in by herself before I manage to make it to the actual fight. Here I'm just walking, trying to make it to the fight, but she's already dead, and there's not a lot that I can do at this point in time. So here I'm just going to go ahead and just pick up the minion wave that's pushing in to our inhibitor tower. So it's, again, the game is relatively evenly matched. In terms of like towers, it's like almost the same. Gold, it's like almost the same. Kills is like almost the same, and it's like really even match, really competitive match so far. We're 2-1-1. We're doing like only just alright. We don't really have a lot of gold in this particular game, and we're of course hoping to change our fortunes the moment we get our evolution on our Manamune to our Mirror Mana, which is of course where this build of Lucian truly comes online. So next dragon is up, so obviously we're going to go ahead and go to the dragon to contest, and on the way we can pick up the red buff as well. And here just blast planting over the dragon pit wall, and here we're just trying to do the dragon. You can see Amumu coming in here. I'm going to walk away to prevent myself from getting stunned by Amumu. Here I'm going to just focus wherever I can. Mostly it's Amumu and Katarina. Here I'm ulting down Amumu and Katarina, and here I'm just kiting away while ulting. Here I'm trying to help out with the set, but unfortunately set does a lot of damage. Here I'm going to actually just run. We're actually able to finish off the kill on set as Zeri finishes off Leona. Now I'm the only guy left on my team, and Zeri is trying to chase me down, but her W is not going to be able to reach me, and I'm actually able to escape. So I bought myself the Merc Treads and the QSS this game because, as I mentioned, Amumu out, Seraphine out are pretty hard to actually avoid. So I either have the Merc Treads to reduce the CC duration, or I have the QSS to just cleanse myself of the CC completely. So here Dragon is once again back up, but there's a huge wave in bot. So I'm going to use my ulti to actually clear out this bot wave. And I won't have my ulti for the Dragon fight, but I will get all of the gold from the minions, which is worth it in my opinion. And here, we have round 2 of the fight here. Amumu manages to secure the dragon. However, we managed to secure the kill onto the Amumu as well as the Katarina, and Set looks like he's going to be next to follow, and then followed by perhaps Seraphine, and Zeri is the last person standing, but Jace picks up a triple kill and Zeri does go down. So pretty clean 5-for-0 fight from my team there. Enemy team did secure the objective, however, overall it's still a win for us because we managed to secure the whole enemy team, and as a result we can start pushing down some towers in the mid lane since we have a wave. Alright, so here you can see we secured 3 towers in the mid lane together with the mid lane inhibitor. And this is of course huge for my team. 3 towers is a lot of gold, and having the inhibitor of course creates a lot more map pressure. Now here the Katarina just randomly jumps in for some reason, and so does the Zeri. Here I'm just ulting from the back line And unfortunately, my team does end up all dying because we're fighting in a 4 versus 5, where of course the enemy team has already bought items, but our team has not really been able to do that yet. It's kind of a throw in my opinion from my team. We should have just ran away and shouldn't have taken the fight. But either way, I'm now 5-1 and 5 all of a sudden, and I actually have now picked up, of course, the components of the shield bow, but more importantly, we have evolved our Manamune into the mirror mana. So now, we're gonna actually start doing meaningful damage. Unfortunately, the enemy team does pick up the Baron because my whole team except from me and Leona all died, so no jungle and not enough manpower. So enemy team picks up the Dragon, which is really logical. Me and Leona obviously couldn't even contest if we wanted to. And here I'm basically just clearing out the bot side jungle, pick up the red buff as well as the Krugs. And perhaps even the Raptors, but I guess not. I guess we now have enough for Shield Bow, and we're going to actually back and pick up the Shield Bow. So of course Shield Bow is going to be really helpful in this match, because we are at risk of getting bursted by Katarina, or maybe getting chain CC'd by Amumu and Seraphine, and then we're going to be in trouble. So we want to of course have that layer of safety there with the shield from the Immoral Shield Bow. And here, honestly, nothing much is happening. We're just trying to defend against the Baron push, which is, we're not having too hard of a job defending games, to be honest. For now, majority of the Baron is actually already gone, and enemy team has only half a minute of Baron actually left. So, not really the longest duration, and very low impact Baron. They didn't even secure an inhibitor or anything like that. So overall, I would say that that's fine. Here the enemy team looks like they're gonna fight in the actual top lane. So here we're just kind of hovering around top and mid to see where we want to go for the fight. Of course, Baron still has 10 seconds remaining, and enemy team is trying to push in mid as well as top. So here I see Set pushing onto mid inhibitor. I'm rotating over to mid because inhibitor obviously is the most important turret in the game because of how much pressure it gives the enemy team when you of course get the super minions flooding in. So I kind of wanted to avoid that situation, and instead I'm just trying to defend mid as well as top at the same time. Here I'm kind of more inclined to defend mid. Here we see a fight starting to break out, and I'm here just pelting people down with my ultimate, trying to kill people off. I managed to secure the kill onto the Katarina, and we're gonna try our best to run away. Amumu's left on 1 HP. I'm still trying to secure my mid lane tower. We managed to secure a kill onto the Set, and the enemy team is forced to back off. No more Baron for them, and also they're running out of manpower. So here me and Twisted Fate are the only two left. Here I'm trying to deal with this wave in the bot lane, and Twisted Fate is going over to deal with the wave in the top lane. Unfortunately, there is a wave pushing in mid, and we really need to handle that wave. Twisted Fate kind of just ignores it and just walks back. So I'm going to have to quickly hit over there. We nearly lose the tower to the minions. The tower is left on 11 HP, which is kind of really lucky. That did not happen. But now the next dragon is of course spawning, so we're trying to push our mid lane to get the mid lane priority. Of course, we have the super minions, whereas they don't. So naturally, our minions will have priority if they're in the center. Of course, of the map, but they're even making it past the center, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue. Here, once again, I pick up the red buff and I pick up the farm before going to the dragon. Of course, we want to make sure our lanes are pushed up. Zeri just kind of ends here by basically just being in a poor position. Here I'm ulting the Amumu over the wall as well as the Katarina. Once again, I'm going to dash in, finish off the Amumu, finish off the Katarina. Set tries to ult in. I'm going to remove it with the QSS, and then I'm going to finish off the Set as well. Seraphine is the only one left. Here I flash forward to try to chase her. Now here, if she didn't stasis, I think she gets out. But this allows me to hit the Cryo Plant and allows me and Twisted Fate to finish off the kill onto her. Now yet another clean ace from my team. Now we're going to focus onto getting the dragon. And yeah, so you can see now, when we're like later in the game with the Manamune, you now do pretty good damage and you have lower cooldown. So with the Manamune, of course, it's going to be really strong and really helpful in the later stages of the game. But as I mentioned, in the earlier stages, you suffer a lot more, as we've seen in this game where we were 2-1-1 for like the longest time, because we weren't really able to do anything much. So here, of course, I'm going to secure the Skull Vision. I'm sure my team is intending to do Baron relatively soon, because we're now pretty far ahead of the enemy team. When I say pretty far ahead, I don't mean very far ahead, because in reality, in terms of goal difference, it's only about 4 4k gold difference, but of course we do have people who are fed, like people like me, Volibear, as well as the Jace. Whereas on their team, it's actually, you know, Amumu and Katarina are actually pretty fed. Set as well is also pretty fed. Of course, Zeri and Seraphine not doing too hot. Here I avoid another Amumu out, and here I'm just staying in the backline trying to blast whoever I can. Set tries to come in, Zeri tries to flash in on me from behind, and I'm just basically kiting her out and just killing her. Seraphine's the only member of the team left, and we have our Volibear chasing her down now. And I'm not going to waste time on that, I'm just going to clear out the waves in mid lane and see if we can push for an end or something like that. Volibear actually does get the kill on her, so it's a clean 5-0 ace, and this basically allows us to end the game at this point, just waiting for the next minion wave to come in, and that basically just allows us to end the game. So anyways guys, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.